Mabuhay! My name is Fred Doctoso with Mabuhay Credit Union, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all back to Mabuhay Community Corner. Here with me today is Conrad Tan, Global Real Estate Advisor with Conrad Tan Realty. Conrad, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Nice. Now, you are a former credit union executive. I actually would consider you one of my mentors. What is it about real estate? What attracted you to become a real estate agent?
I would say it's a combination of passion and challenge. Passion would be my mom primarily, but even my dad and others in the family have always liked, going into real estate investment and seeing the value of it. But more so as a challenge, when I came here from Manila to LA in 2006, at that time, even before the market crash, a lot of people were saying that home prices are high and all of that, and it was going to be very hard for someone like me stepping in as a newbie here in the country to buy my own house. And I said to myself, that's a good challenge to do, to take. And since then, I've bought 3 homes and sold one of them, and I've enjoyed a lot of the aspect of it. And I told myself, this is a journey that I need to be able to share and help others buy their home or sell their home.
Very nice. So it started from a personal perspective, and then you decided to join it. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's good that you have that experience, obviously. Now, why would, obviously there's a lot of realtors, real estate agents out there. What is it about you and Conrad Tan Realty that, that basically prompts people to pick you over others out there?
For one, I've moved like maybe 8 or 9 times since 2006. And, what would come with that is, experience on knowing the pains and all of that comes with moving. But more so, you mentioned at the beginning, I was a credit union executive, and that entailed me to work into the different departments like HR, lending, accounting, finance, and other things that eventually came together as a real estate agent for me. And all of those experiences have helped me become, I would say, a very balanced real estate agent for the folks that I represent.
Nice. And again, it's coming from an area of personal experience for you. So that's amazing. As an industry in general, like, you started off saying earlier that real estate is challenging. What would you consider to be your most challenging, hurdle that you've had to overcome in the field?
Before I became a real estate agent, I've already been into investments. So I would say maybe since 2008 or 2009. And I would answer this on an investment perspective. One of our family properties, actually, we've had a tenant there. So this happened in 2016, I think. And at that time, she was a tenant. She was elderly. She's been a tenant for us for about 15 years. Never missed a payment. And she was living in one of the homes on a duplex. And there was a big plumbing problem that flooded the whole place. The one that complained was the other house, not where this lady was living at. And come to find out that it was coming from this older lady, the plumbing problem at least. Long story short, the legal advice and the contractor advice that I got was she had to leave the house so we can fix the problem and make it livable again. But she did not want to leave because we found out that she's a hoarder. And I think this opened my eyes to mental health more than anything else. That, and it's a serious thing. And being a hoarder, it wasn't because they wanted to damage the house. It was because of a mental health issue. And because she did not want to leave, the only recourse I had legally was to evict her. And that was very tough. But that made me realize that it's not all about passion. There's a business side to it, and there are legal things that need to be followed. And when the contractor says that it's already unlivable, not safe for her to live there, because you can imagine there was tons of newspapers all around, and it was by the heating vent, all of that, all over the kitchen. All it takes is that one spark. It would go in flames, and her life would be in a dangerous position. So I think that was one of the tougher parts. But upon her leaving the place, she had to be escorted like any other type of eviction. I actually did ask her if she had a place to go to afterwards, and she said yes, and that made me feel a lot better. So
On the topic of challenging times, we're obviously in a global pandemic right now. How has the real estate industry been affected by COVID-19?
So with the pandemic, I would say one of the biggest changes, if you go back to your economics class, it's the law of supply and demand, right? And that's what's happening now. There are less people selling, so there's less supply, and there's more demand. There's more buyers because a lot of the buyers either they already have a home, they own a home, but they don't have enough space, or maybe this is with the low interest rates, they want to buy a new home. So with that, there's been an increase of price because of that supply of law and demand, that there's a big demand right now. And then the other thing I would say is when there's a transaction, especially with real estate, that there's big sums of money involved, people automatically think that it's all just about the price. But I would say that price is just a marketing tool. If you're selling a house at a market value, you have X number of percentage of people that wants to buy it that are going to be interested. But if you sell it too high, then you're going to have less people interested, right? So obviously having the right price is going to be important, especially if whether I'm representing the seller or the buyer. But I think what this pandemic did is we want to make sure that if, let's say, I'm representing the seller, that the offer that we're accepting, we know that it wasn't just the highest price, that price, when we go through the conditions, when we get the appraiser, when we get through the small details, that this one could actually finish in escrow, that it's going to get to the finish line. Because there's a lot of people that might offer a big amount, but they couldn't really finish it off, not to go to too much of the details of it. And if I'm representing the buyer in this case, when we make an offer, I want to make sure that my buyer's comfortable with that offer, first and foremost. But also, I've heard of actually one of the houses that I sold, the buyer that got it actually was on their 10th time making that offer. Okay? And I've seen that it takes an average of about 3 to 4 offers before a buyer actually gets their accepted offer right now. But this one was on the 10th time. That being said, if I'm representing the buyer, I want to make sure that I'm giving them the tools that they could decide on to make sure that they're not going to get too tired of the whole home search. That instead of maybe on the average of 3 to 4, we would be on the first or second that we're going to be able to get that house. And because that impacts the psychology and their ability to look for a house. So I want to make sure that I'm informing them with those.
Over the course of your real estate career, is there a specific instance that you would consider to be, your proudest moment, your proudest achievement, anything that stands out for you? I'm sure handing off a key to a buyer, that's, big accomplishment in and of itself. But is there any one particular moment that stands out for you?
Now that I think about that, it's actually a transaction that I never made money on. I got a phone call, I would say, actually, year 2020, I got a phone call from a person that I've known for maybe 4 or 5 years, and he needed help to move from one rental to another.
Okay.
And rental is a different beast than buying and selling, and normally there's less I actually sometimes would lose money when I represent somebody for a rental, but they're gonna rent for a reason, and I was helping him out what to do, how he should present himself, and all of that. But then I asked a question to him. I said, "Why are you renting now? What's making you move?" And his answer actually astounded me. He said, "Because I'm currently homeless."
Oh.
And this is somebody that I know, and I had to help him find out. And like I said, because I would lose money, it would be foolish for me to go into transactions. So the best thing I could do was help him find his choices and how to represent himself. And after a month or two, he said, he found a home, and I think that's one of the most. I think I'm proud. That was one instance, but I would say I'm proud because we just don't people put in homes. We actually find them homes.
That's a big difference between a house versus a home.
Yeah.
Right? The home is, where the heart is, they say. Nice. So that's awesome that, it is on a personal basis that you kind of hang that hat on. Now, looking, forward to the future, what would you consider to be your goals for your real estate business?
Finance is all about numbers for me. The end goal of having money to me is to be able to help the community eventually. So the end goal for me, I would say, is to be able to give back, and that's a big part of why I, besides being able to feed my family and providing basic needs, is to be able to give back and help others.
That's amazing. There you have it, folks. Thank you so much, Conrad, for sharing with us how the real estate field works in general, how it's much more beyond houses as opposed to homes, right? And the personal aspect of things. So thank you so much for that. Now, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. That way you can keep up with the Mabuhay Community Corner along with the rest of what we do here at Mabuhay Credit Union. In closing, allow me to share with you today's penny for your thoughts. A man travels the world over in search of what he needs and comes home to find it. My name again is Fred Doc Dossel with Mabuhay Community Corner, here with Conrad Tan. Salamat and Mabuhay!